A penguin despised by his flock must embark on an adventure to find the aliens who have stolen all the fish in the ocean. Today we will recap the story of the movie, Happy Feet, from 2006. In Antarctica, it's mating season for emperor penguins, and to choose the partner with whom they will share their entire lives, song is the most important criterion. It's through song that male penguins are able to win over the female, and in the case of Memphis and Norma, the match couldn't be better. Months later, the couple has an egg and Memphis has to hatch it while Norma travels with the other females in search of food. The animals are experiencing a harsh winter, and during a long journey in search of shelter, Memphis ends up dropping his egg in the snow. After retrieving it, the bird is relieved to realize that it is intact and returns to its flock as if nothing had happened. A few days later, sunlight appears and causes the ice blocks formed to begin to disappear. At this time, the young penguins also begin to leave their eggs and go to meet the incredible world that awaits them outside. As he watches his friend's chicks hatch, Memphis is worried that his egg is taking too long to hatch. Suddenly, two tiny feet pierce the bark and walk onto an ice ramp. After a fall, the shell breaks and reveals a sea chick unlike any other. Mumble is born with a trait that gives him a great need to move his feet and tap over the ice. Seeing him do that weird dance, his father soon feels uncomfortable and is embarrassed by the strange looks from the rest of the gang. Hours later, the female penguins return to meet their family and Mumble is excited to meet his mother. The chick then runs off into the crowd and ends up getting lost from his father. When she finds Memphis, Norma asks about her chick and he soon comes out to meet her. After eating his first meal, he and the other chicks will have a lesson with Mrs. Viola about the love song, which is indispensable for them to find a partner when they become adults. Upon hearing Gloria's song, Mumble is delighted. But when it's his turn to show off his skills, he's teased by all his classmates because he has no musical talent whatsoever. Worried about the young penguin's future, Viola goes to talk to his parents and advises them to ask Madame Astrakhan for help. Excited about this new challenge, the penguin says she will help Mumble find the song that is inside his heart, then guide him to channel all his feeling and turn it into a song. However, instead of singing, the chick releases all the emotion he is feeling in the form of tap dancing and is scolded by his teacher. Astrakhan then makes another attempt, but the result remains the same, and once again Mumble starts dancing, leaving his teacher extremely frustrated. As she returns home, Norma tells her that there is nothing wrong with her son and states that it is okay for him to be different. However, Memphis disagrees with his wife and states that Mumble must strive to be like his peers. Otherwise, he will never be part of the gang. That summer, while his parents go fishing, the chick finds a secluded spot, away from the judgmental gaze of the other penguins, to practice his tap dancing. While dancing, he is surprised by the arrival of a group of seagulls who are determined to devour him. Before having his abdomen ripped open by the predator's claws, Mumble spots something strange on his leg and asks what it is. It is at this moment that he discovers the existence of aliens, as Skua claims that he was abducted by them and, after putting that ring on his leg, the extraterrestrials released him. After telling his sad story, the seagull tries to devour him, but the chick hides in a hole in the snow and manages to save himself. From that day on, the young penguin attended classes from afar, away from his class, because he was lost in his thoughts all the time. The chick wonders what the world is like away from there and is curious to know if there is a place where a penguin who cannot sing can be accepted. Months later, Mumble and his class graduate and, as part of the graduation ritual, the youngsters are sent to sea for the first time. Hundreds of birds are standing on a block of ice on the oceanfront trying to work up the courage to jump. Just then, Mumble ends up sliding on the snow and becomes the first of his class to take the plunge. When they realize that the young penguin is fine, all his colleagues jump in after him and start fishing while doing their synchronized swims. Since he was a chick, Mumble has been in love with Gloria and decides to take this opportunity to try to win her over. The two lovebirds are distracted in the ocean when a small shoal approaches and all the penguins swim quickly to try and secure their meal. As there were few fish, most of the youngsters ran out of food and Mumble decided to give his fish to Gloria. Just then, Skua dives into the water and manages to steal it. However, the young penguin takes a risk to retrieve his prey and ends up in a battle against the seagulls. When he manages to get loose, he falls on the ice and is powerless to get up. Concerned, Gloria approaches to see if everything is okay with her friend and Mumble finally manages to deliver the fish to her. That evening, after the graduation ritual, Gloria and other members of her class come together to give a musical performance. During a beautiful Northern Lights event, the young penguins enjoy the show and Mumble ends up getting more excited than he should. The bird feels excited to see the chick he loves demonstrating all her gift and, without realizing it, ends up singing along with her. As he has no musical talent, he accidentally disrupts the party and causes some discomfort among his colleagues. Embarrassed, Mumble decides to stay away and watch the performance from afar, on top of a block of ice floating in the ocean. Sometime during the night, the penguin falls asleep, and when it wakes up, it realizes that it has been taken to an unknown location. Suddenly, he starts being chased by a bloodthirsty seal and climbs onto a sheet of ice to try to escape. However, the predator swims under the frozen lake and manages to catch up with him. So Mumble dives again and swims through the ice columns to try to throw the animal off. After swimming to the surface, the young penguin finally makes it to dry land, where he has the advantage over his enemy. At this point, he meets Ramon and his friends who, after mocking the seal's unsuccessful hunt, invite Mumble to meet their flock of Adelie penguins. These animals use stones to build their nests and, unlike emperor penguins, this is their way of winning a mate. The more stones a penguin adds to its nest, the more attractive it becomes. The birds are impressed by Mumble's tap dancing talent, and for the first time the youngster feels accepted in a group. During a choreography, he has an accident and slides down a snowy mountain. Then his new friends jump in after him and they all end up in the middle of an avalanche. After falling into the ocean, Mumble spots a machine unlike anything he's ever seen before and wonders where it could have come from. Suddenly, he realizes that huge ice floes are floating towards him and he has to swim, quickly, back to the surface so as not to risk being crushed. Intrigued by what he has seen, the young penguin begins to question Ramon about the existence of aliens, and the penguin advises him to go and talk to Lovelace, as only he can give him the answers Mumble is looking for. After spending hours in a gigantic queue waiting for his turn to speak to the guru, the dancing penguin asks how he got that ring that's stuck around his neck, and Lovelace claims that the prop was granted to him through mystical beings. According to him, it is a sacred talisman that he obtained during his journey of enlightenment to the Forbidden Shore. Upon hearing this answer, Mumble begins to have even more questions, which makes Lovelace furious and causes him to leave. Frustrated, the young penguin decides to return to his gang. Before saying goodbye, Ronaldo says he has a question about the mating ritual and asks what the males of his people usually do to win the hearts of the chicks. When he discovers that emperor penguins choose their partners through song, the group is curious to know if Mumble has a special someone he wants to win over, and the youngster reveals that he can't sing. In an attempt to help his friend win the heart of his beloved, Ramon hatches a plan to make him sing. The mating season has begun and all the chicks try to convince Gloria to choose them as her partner. However, one song in particular piques the young chick's interest. Unexpectedly, Mumble shows up and wins her over with a beautiful song. However, it doesn't take long before Gloria realizes the setup and feels discomfited with her friend. In order to get around the mistake he made, Mumble starts tap dancing and asks his beloved to accompany him with her song. In doing so, the couple manages to establish a strong connection, and Gloria also starts dancing, infecting everyone around her. For the first time, the whole flock decides to follow Mumble's choreographies and have fun during the dance. Except for the elders, who are extremely angry to see the tradition of the mating ritual being broken. Furious, Noah, the leader of the gang, shouts ordering everyone to stop this insanity and claims that it is that kind of heresy that causes the scarcity of fish in the ocean. The old man then claims that the lack of food that has been occurring is related to Mumble and says that he is a freak. Upon hearing this, the penguin decides to defend himself and claims that it is not his dancing that is causing the famine. Even knowing that no one will believe his story, Mumble claims that it is other creatures that are stealing the fish, and Noah decides to kick him out of that gang. At that moment, Norma tries to intercede for her son and states that he has the right to remain there as well as all the other members of the gang. However, Memphis interrupts her and advises Mumble to give up all his quirks so that he can be accepted by everyone. Overcome with remorse, the penguin reveals that the youngster was born that way because, when it was just an egg, he dropped it. Disappointed that he cannot be authentic and spontaneous with his emotions, Mumble decides to leave and promises that when he finds the real person responsible for stealing the fish, he will return to his family. His mission now is to find out how to find the aliens, and, to do so, the young penguin decides to ask Lovelace for help. As he approaches the guru's hideout, Mumble wonders why he isn't responding to calls, then soon discovers that his holy talisman is constricting his neck and causing him to become almost breathless. At this point, the little ones try to free him from those rings, but end up hurting the poor penguin even more, who, at this point, can't even speak. Concerned, Mumble asks once again how that artifact got around his neck, and Lovelace decides to tell the truth. With difficulty, the bird explains that it was swimming in the ocean and that thing ended up getting stuck in its neck. The young penguin then asks him to help him get to the place where he found that object, because then he might be able to get it off his neck and Mumble will find the aliens who are stealing the fish. Just as the group begins their journey, Gloria appears and states that she will accompany Mumble wherever he goes. The young penguin reveals that she is in love with him and intends to spend the rest of her life by his side, even if it means having to abandon her gang. However, the young penguin does not want his beloved to sacrifice everything she has to accompany him on this journey and does not intend to let Gloria risk her life on that mission. So he asks her to come home and says he didn't like her mating song, as he knows it will help her forget him. Despite suffering in doing so, Mumble manages to fulfill his goal of keeping Gloria safe and, heartbroken, continues on his mission. After several hours of walking, the group climbs a mountain and manages to reach the land of the elephant seals. To reach the ocean, they slip on the snow and slide down the mountain until they reach the territory of those scary animals. When he spots the penguins, Trev orders them to leave, as they are invading his people's space. However, Mumble claims that he and his friends are just passing through and takes the opportunity to ask about the path they should take. Upon discovering where the group is headed, the elephant seal advises them to be careful as they risk coming face to face with an annihilator. According to him, this creature is extremely dangerous, as it eliminates all living things that come in its way. No matter the size of their prey, even if it is a huge whale, the annihilators manage to capture it and, after dragging its body to the beach, turn it into food. Upon hearing this, Mumble realizes that he is on the right track, as he is sure that this is the monster that is wiping out the fish and causing the ocean to become scarce. Determined to make contact with the creatures to try to convince them to leave his people alone, the young penguin continues his journey and braves a heavy snowstorm with his friends to finally reach his destination. Along the way, Lovelace ended up getting lost from his team and Mumble goes to look for him. It is at this time that the young penguin finds an entire town covered in snow and wonders what kind of creature lives there. As he watches everything around him, Ramon and his friends follow the guru's footsteps in the hope of finding him alive. It's not long before Mumble finds Lovelace at the edge of the ocean, barely able to breathe. While crawling on the ground, the creature shows the place where he found the artifact that is stuck in his neck, and the young penguin intends to find the aliens to ask them to help his friend get rid of that ring. Suddenly, 2 orca whales approach and start swimming around the ice floe where the penguins are, aiming to surround their prey. In their first attack, they try to knock the little ones into the water, but end up failing in their mission. However, Lovelace gets caught in the bell of the platform and falls into the sea, being dragged to the bottom of the ocean. Immediately, Mumble jumps into the water to rescue his friend, but he can't get him out and Lovelace ends up being tossed around by the whales. During the attack, the penguin finally manages to get rid of the plastic that was stuck around his neck and Mumble helps him escape from a whale's mouth. When Ramon and his friends are knocked into the water, they all have to flee and quickly swim to dry land. This time, they manage to escape a brutal attack alive and Lovelace puts the orcas on the run with his intimidating speech. However, the truth is that the whales have escaped from a gigantic ship that is approaching the site and almost runs over the penguins. After escaping unharmed, they climb a mountain to get a better look at the ship and come to the realization that there is nothing they can do to stop them. However, Mumble is still determined to do something to get the fish back and asks his friends to tell their parents that he did everything to save his people. He then jumps the mountain and swims to the fishing net. As he tries to tear it up, the young penguin is stopped by the fishermen, who use a hook to bring him down. Still, he does not give up on reaching the ship and swims for several kilometers until he loses sight of it. When he has exhausted all his strength, Mumble is swept downstream until he reaches the beach, where he is found by a human. After being rescued, the animal is taken to a cage where other penguins live, and it takes a while before it realizes that it is no longer loose in the wild. When he finally sees the aliens up close, Mumble tries to communicate with them, but the creatures cannot understand him. No matter how much he shouts and asks why they are taking the fish, the young penguin is completely ignored. After 3 days of trying to communicate, Mumble loses his voice, and after 3 months, the bird begins to lose his sanity. While trapped in that terrible place, he daydreams about his family and can only think that everyone he loves is starving while he feeds. One day, while lamenting his miserable life, Mumble spots a little chick trying to get his attention and matches her knocks with a tap dance. Impressed by what she sees, the chick goes to call her mother to watch the dance and, quickly, a crowd gathers around the tank to watch the spectacle. Thanks to his talent, the young penguin is noticed by the humans and sent back home. When he meets up with his gang again, Mumble tells them that he has found out who is taking the fish and claims to have made contact with these creatures. When he meets Gloria, he is very relieved to learn that she has not yet married anyone, as she has never heard any song that would win her over. The young penguin then asks what that device on Mumble's back is, and he tells her that it's just a locator so the aliens can find him. Upon hearing this, Noah becomes furious and accuses him of having betrayed his kind. Then Gloria decides to confront him, as the old man has always said that aliens do not exist. At this point, Mumble explains that he has purposely lured them there so that they will discover that his people exist and stop taking their fish. Despite the elders' opposition, The penguins decide to listen to Mumble and start imitating his tap dancing. At this point, he meets his mother and friends again, who are very relieved to find out that the young penguin is fine. While everyone dances, Mumble goes to the cave to see his father, who is depressed and remorseful for ever having judged his son. Now that she's lucky enough to meet him again, Memphis decides to dance with him and discovers that tap dancing is a lot of fun. While the family is having fun, an aircraft approaches and Noah is forced to recognize that the young penguin was right. When they get out of the vehicle, the aliens begin to observe the population and all the penguins organize themselves to start a choreography. Immediately, the humans start filming the show and, afraid of what might happen, the elders start dancing too. Scientists from all over the world are intrigued by the incredible unique ability of this flock of penguins and are studying the possible cause of this phenomenon. In parallel to this, other scholars note that humans have interfered with the food chain of these animals, stealing all their food. If everything continues as it is, the entire population of dancing penguins will be extinct. To prevent this from happening, the scientists suggest an end to marine fishing around the site, but the authorities refuse to comply. After several weeks of protests organized in several countries around the world, the government is forced to give in and bans all fishing in that place. With the end of human interference, the food chain has gradually returned to balance and now penguins are no longer living in times of scarcity. Everyone celebrates the fact that they can eat at will and Mumble is considered the hero of his people. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.